It's 12 o'clock, and here on BBC Radio Cumbria, the midday news headlines. A confrontation with anti-nuclear campaigners.
Go on! You can! You're doing it, yay!
Nuclear campaigners may face court action if they try to block the waste pipeline at Sellafield.
Oh!
Campaigners from Greenpeace in the Netherlands plan to block the pipe which they claim discharges more than 2 million gallons of radioactive waste into the Irish Sea every day.
All right. Yeah, see you later. You're doing very, very well, eh?
Are we on?
Yeah.
Its divers having spent 3 days practicing in Douglas Harbour, the Greenpeace ship Sirius has set sail from the Isle of Man and is expected off the coast of Cumbria later today.
Can you see it?
Maybe the police will have stopped them.
Come on, show us your biceps. Whoa!
Arriving off Sellafield, the Sirius closed in on what the confrontation is all about. This waste pipe, say the campaigners, has made the Irish Sea the most radioactive in the world. But the Sirius remained at anchor after a High Court injunction forced Greenpeace to abandon its plans to block the pipe. The injunction was obtained by British Nuclear Fuel.
The things they're protesting about happened years ago. The nuclear industry today is the most safety conscious you can name. I mean, I've worked there for years. I'm healthy enough.
Glows with it. Got a part-time job as a lamp.
Do you work there, Wendy? No, he won't let us. Every time I get a job, I get pregnant.
Come on, Gemma. No. What's wrong, Jem? I'm cold.
Here we go. Daleks.
Exterminate! Exterminate! Fence stops the radiation, it can't jump.
Well, they've served you an injunction which orders you not to attempt to block the discharge pipe. As a lawyer, I'm required to tell you that if you defy this, you'll be in contempt of the British courts. So I've told you.
Greenpeace divers have cut a hole in the radioactive discharge pipe at Sellafield in an attempt to block it in defiance of a High Court injunction. Divers from the Greenpeace ship Sirius took it in turns to go below and attack the pipe with cutting torches.
Gemma?
And our own lawyer, Martin Day, explained we should not attempt to block the pipeline or we would be in contempt of court.
Thank you, Hans.
I know what I
I just want to make sure, that's all. She looks pale and her tummy's swollen again.
Dad!
Hello, Steve. Oh, she is.
Dad!
Thank you.
I noticed her stomach was swollen. Well, she has been eating well.
But feeling tired.
Yeah, she keeps asking to go to bed.
Can I have a look at that tummy, Gemma?
Let's just take this down. I put these on her because she keeps saying she's cold.
I want you to take her to the Whitehaven Hospital.
Steve?
Tina! Put all these...
Steve!
It'll be okay. It's not that. So just...
Right. Well, Gemma Darcy, your blood test shows that you're anemic.
Oh, God. Gemma, I've had some toilet, eh?
Gemma isn't just anemic. She needs more tests, but we may be looking at leukemia.
Why are we here?
Because you're special, Angel.
Newcastle's good for shopping, ain't it?
Everybody ready then?
Yeah!
Oh! Well, I've decided what I'm going to come as. I'm going to come as the circus.
Gemma is suffering from chronic myeloid leukemia. This is very rare in children.
Will she die?
She is suffering from a very serious illness. To give her the best possible chance, she'll need to have chemotherapy.
Chemotherapy? This morning she was... And now she needs chemotherapy. Why? How could it just happen? She was... Well, she was... How?
The leukemia cells have invaded other parts of her body. But we can do something for her. We'll keep her in with you for tests, and she'll go straight onto a course of busulfan, chemotherapy pills.
Why, Gemma? I mean, have we given it to her? Is it bad blood or...?
No, no. Most leukemias are thought to be the result of a series of events. 2 or 3, or even 6 different factors may trigger the illness.
Like what?
Well, the major recognised risks are smoking, exposure to certain chemicals, or exposure to radiation.
Radiation? Is that anything to do with Sellafield? We live 10 miles away. Stephen works there.
I really don't know. A bone marrow transplant could save her life. Obviously, we'll test the family first and hope to find a good match. If we don't get one, and it's not at all unusual, even in families, we'll need to find a non-related donor. Any transplant would need to be done before her illness reaches the acute stage.
Is it bound to turn acute?
Yes.
When?
It could happen any time. Next week, 3 years' time. There's no way of knowing when the illness will become uncontrollable.
So what are the odds of a cure?
Well, more in her favour than against. But there are no guarantees. Certainly without treatment, the disease will progress and inevitably be fatal. We will get her right again.
I've got leukemia.
I don't believe it. 6 months.
I think you feel bad. I stood on his ship and told him he wouldn't go to jail. Martin Day, lawyer.
BNFL asking for $250,000 for damage to their pipeline. God!
I've done much to pay the Irish for damage to their sea.
No, we objected. I settled for $80,000 in the end. The thing is, Stephen, they weren't interested in Hans Goid going to jail. They wanted to break Greenpeace financially and shut him up once and for all.
In 1985, British Nuclear Fuels were convicted at Carlisle Crown Court for polluting the beaches with radioactive waste. They were fined $10,000. Greenpeace, for trying to stop them polluting the beaches, they fined $80,000.
We're no good as donors for Gemma.
Does that mean she can't have the transplant?
Not unless we can find someone who can help her. She'd have had more chance of finding a match if we had more kids. I wish we'd had 10.
Give your money to the Gemma Darcy appeal! Cheers now. Give some money to Gemma Darcy! It's for Gemma Darcy. Her dad works on contract here. She's got leukemia. Cheers now.
It is safer in radiation terms to swim in the sea off the Sellafield pipeline for 4 hours than it is to sit in a deck chair on a sunny day on a beach at Newquay for 1 hour.
Have you ever heard such crap in all your lives? Swimming in a radioactive sea is safer than sitting in a deck chair. I mean, these are the people taking us into the 21st century. Bloody Nora! The children with leukemia living near Sellafield. That really is the next big issue BNFL's going to have to face.
Well, as I've said to you before, there really is no scientific evidence to link those illnesses with the plant.
Philip, surely, if children living in the town next to that plant are suffering leukemia at 10 times the national average, common sense must tell you.
Common sense isn't science. I know the plant would appear to be the obvious cause, but the committee, chaired by Sir Douglas Black, set up by the government,
found that leukemia in children was 10 times the national average.
Couldn't say why it was happening there.
There's a nuclear reprocessing plant there.
The amount of radiation emitted from the plant isn't thought to be high enough to be a causal factor of leukemia. Now, you may not like that, Martin.
Yeah, I don't much.
British Nuclear Fuels think it's just a chance outbreak of leukemia, don't they?
That or possibly some viral infection.
That seems utterly stupid to me.
Well, they point out that there are places where there are no nuclear installations, but still high instances of leukemia.
Yes, well, but that doesn't necessarily mean that nuclear installations aren't to blame where there are leukemias.
What do you honestly think, Philip?
My gut reaction is to say the plant is very likely the cause. But I can't scientifically prove that. Nobody can. If you can't do that, you can't say they're guilty.
In Cumbria, people sue BNFL over contamination of their land, contamination of their cattle, cancers in their workforce, but nobody is suing them over the children.
Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Gemma. Happy birthday to you.
So, gents, if you can, will you please go the reverse side of the bicycle and make a nice feature of it? That's it. Yes,
so come
please,
on,
sir.
let's
If
see
you'll
the new
move
bike,
round,
Gemma.
and if we can have Gemma on the bicycle, that would be nice. Can you ring the bell for us, Gemma?
Just a
That's
few
fine.
more.
It was my sister Tina's idea. She spoke to a lady who works in the canteen at BNFL, and they started a collection off to send Gemma on the holiday of a lifetime to Disney World. Well, it was actually going to be Butlins, but people just kept giving.
Gemma looks well.
Yeah. Well, we go regularly to the hospital to keep a check on her.
But you still haven't found a donor for her?
No.
She could just stay that well on the tablets. You can't tell me there's not somebody somewhere who'd be the right donor for her. And how many bloody people are there in the world? Someone must be able to help her.
I'm not going to let her die, Steve.
Okay, partner, let's get this show on the road. Come on, let her have Go, Gemma. Jump on the
That's the biggest hot dog in the world. It's $5. She only had one bike before. If she wants it, she can have it. I'm telling you what, she wants it. She got it.
Has it got cash in it?
Oh, yeah. You haven't touched it? I made that special.
Not hungry. Not hungry.
Stop copying everything Gemma does.
Why do you always have to tell me?
I'm telling you both, if you don't eat, you'll die. People do, all people. Come on, take your pill. You've got to keep strong, Gemma. I'm forever telling you. What? Speaking.
The White Saver News here, Mrs. Darcy. We're about to run an advert from the firm of London solicitors, and I'd like to get your comments. They're offering to sue British Nuclear Fuels on behalf of people with leukemic children. I've got the phone number here if you'd like it. Would you consider suing BNFL, Mrs. Darcy?
It's none of your sodding business, is it? Be quiet, I'm on the phone. What's the number?
Mr. Hope, I'm Martin Day.
Come in.
Thanks. This is what's prompted my firm to advertise for clients. It's a study into the high incidence of leukemia in children living near the Dounreay reprocessing plant in Scotland. Dounreay and Sellafield are the two installations in the United Kingdom which are involved in the manufacturing of plutonium for bombs. And children are sick and dying near both of them.
Everybody round here knows somebody with a cancer or with leukemia. Everybody.
But you never expect it to happen to your own. People say it can't be the plant because not every child round here has leukemia. But not everybody who smokes gets cancer. We all know cigarettes causes it.
I couldn't say BNFL are all bad. They've done a lot in the community. They support the local rugby. They built a lovely sports hall.
What do people around here think about you suing BNFL?
This is our daughter, Vivian. One day she was fine, and she wasn't feeling quite right. It was that quick.
She has non-Hodgkin's lymphoma.
Now we just don't know if she'll make it or not.
Our son has leukemia as well.
That was Dorothy, 1962. Leukemia wasn't treatable then. I wanted to take her home from the hospital, but they wanted to do some tests. I was going to go back and get her, but they phoned to say she was dead. She was like a little skeleton, all in 5 days. It haunted Mr. Ray for the rest of his life. He was convinced that working at Sellafield had something to do with it. He wrote these notes. We only found them after he died. You can't say what you lose when you lose a child, especially a baby, so quickly.
How'd you get on?
Oh, God. You know, I think if I lived here, I'd hate people like me. They've had experts, inquiries, prodding them, questioning them, examining them, like they're part of an experiment.
They are, aren't they? What's that?
Oh. Testimony of a working man. Mrs. Darcy.
Yeah.
Martin Day.
All right, do you want to come in?
Yeah, thanks.
Just go through there.
Thanks, yeah.
Come in.
Well, you can ask me anything you like.
What's in it for you?
In law, we're required to prove the case on a balance of probability. And I believe we can show that Sellafield is more likely than not to be the cause of these leukemias.
People here have been talking about your advert.
What do they think?
What do they think? Most of them work at Sellafield, so they want to believe it's safe. I certainly did when I worked there.
And most are pro-nuclear. Well, pro the jobs.
They've got families to feed, haven't they?
Some are saying if they get sued over this and lose, they'll shut the place down. Jobs will go. The country will lose billions. And then what?
Wait, what are we supposed to do? Shut up and let our children die in the national interest?
I'm just saying. It's not going to be just about Gemma or Liz.
Yes, it is. Gemma's exactly what this is about.
If he's not doing it for the money, you've got nothing to lose.
You haven't seen her. You don't even work there.
Are you saying Sellafield didn't cause her leukemia?
Are you sure you're not just looking for somebody to blame?
I've got leukemia.
I know.
Are you my liar?
Well, I'd like to be.
We've agreed to let you have a go for us.
Right. You'll need to fill these in. Legal aid forms.
Not double glazing we're signing for, is it?
They say these gulls used to nest at the bird sanctuary at Ravenglass. They ate fish contaminated with plutonium. They don't nest here anymore. It's only the people who have to stay.
Sellafield. Radiation. Leukemic children. And it generates enough electricity to serve a place the size of Blackpool.
With or without the lights.
I hope that people's hopes aren't being raised without a formidable case to back them. I don't want to see people's hopes raised and then dashed because when these matters come to court after some time, it is found that there just isn't the evidence to substantiate them.
As always,
go for it. Too bad.
Those are very special.
Setting where the pinpoint ended. But what?
How does Martin Day know it's Sellafield? I mean, how does he know what nobody else does? He's sued over compensation claims before, you know, and lost. He's got this thing about BNFL.
Good nobody around here, Ross.
Yeah, well, if he can't sue somebody, he hasn't got a living, has he? I just feel like we're being bounced into something we know nothing about.
Gemma's got leukemia. He's given us a chance to do something about it. Look, what should we do? What should I? Keep our mouths shut.
Did they tell you I was going to die?
Emergency at Windscale atom plant. And the milk from 200 square miles of farmland is condemned as radioactive. Milk Marketing Board lorries collect the contaminated milk. The trouble arose when radioactive dust from the overheated pile fell on the Cumberland pastures, and milk samples rushed to Harwell were found to contain 6 times as much radioactive iodine as international health standards permit. Meanwhile, emergency supplies from outside are delivered to more than 5,000 people who normally get their milk from the banned farms. Experts believe the danger is already past, but until they're quite sure, the ban stays. With atoms, you can't be too careful.
Yeah, well, now we all know it's safe, that's it. Just a little local A-bomb in Cumbria.
What has the 1950s fire got to do with us?
Well, it's relevant to your clients because it was the event that drew attention to what was going on at Windscale. The reprocessing plant was pumping plutonium into the environment like a car exhaust.
Radioactive contamination blown all across Cumbria.
That's right. It lands in the soil and there it stays for the next 24,000 years. Your clients live and work on contaminated land. If they disturb the topsoil, breathe in the dust, or if they eat food from that land, they could well be taking in radioactive contamination.
How much would they need to ingest to cause leukemia?
Well, in my opinion, a lot less than present medical science thinks.
So how much is that?
As much as the survivors of the atomic bomb at Hiroshima suffered. That's the benchmark current medical thinking is based on.
So, ideally, we need a client who stood in front of an atom bomb.
Almost. In radiation cases, only very high doses are accepted as being the cause of cancer. Of course, the A-bomb radiation dose was instantaneous. Personally, I think that the accumulated low doses people living near atomic plants constantly breathe in are just as deadly.
But that isn't the currently accepted view.
No, but if a whole lot of illness doesn't fit the accepted view, maybe it's the view that should be changed. I would say that Gemma Darcy's leukemia might well have been caused by radiation from Sellafield. She lives 10 miles from the plutonium factory. Radiation is emitted from there on a regular basis. She breathed contaminated air. She played on contaminated beaches.
Yes, so did a lot of kids, I imagine. It's not going to convince a judge.
Oi, hang on a minute. Professor Radford is showing us a probable biological pathway. That first, then we prove that it actually did happen like he says.
Once inside you, alpha radiation, which is what plutonium particles emit, builds up and damages cells. Damaged cells can lead to cancers, including leukemia. We know that alpha particles concentrate on the surface of the bone or are deposited in the liver. Now, a small body of a child wouldn't need much plutonium to be enormously damaged. Then one day, a child is suddenly ill. No one can understand how it could have happened.
Yeah. See, I can hear that being explained to a judge.
Look, with respect to Professor Radford, most medical scientists wouldn't accept what he says.
Well, since when has science had a franchise on the truth?
His theory goes against all accepted safety levels.
Nah, radiation safety levels are ignorance cast in stone.
Well, they might be, but that still doesn't make his theory prove a statistical link between Sellafield and the leukemias.
Look, Sarah, children are dying now. That's the only statistic we need to keep in mind. And if science drags its feet much longer, we won't have to argue statistics. We'll be able to prove the link by counting the bodies.
How many weeks is she?
26.
You're all right, Susan. Baby will be fine.
Must have broke a lot of mirrors to get this kind of look.
You know, even if the baby had survived, she might not have been able to be a donor for Gemma.
I wanted her for herself as well, you know.
Bloody hell, Richard! Oh, BNFL have had a great success. They've stopped our clients' legal aid. They've told the legal aid board there's no case to answer.
What has the board said?
They've agreed. They've turned us down. We're not even going to get a chance to have a go at them in court. We'll see Stephen Sedley about this. Marlene, we're going to appeal it. Ah!
I think they perhaps haven't fully appreciated the strength of our case.
I'd interpret the letter as panic by their side. BNFL solicitors claim that under the 30-year limitation period, the plaintiffs may bring a claim at some later date. In the unlikely event a link between childhood leukemia and Sellafield is established. Well, one of the plaintiffs, Mrs. Elizabeth Ray, is bringing an action on behalf of her daughter, who died in 1962. Unless that case goes forward before 1992, she will be outside the 30-year period and will have lost the opportunity of ever bringing any action ever again.
And my daughter might not be here in 30 years.
BNFL solicitors conclude their letter by offering the view the potential plaintiffs have no prospect whatsoever of succeeding. Well, it's for a judge, not BNFL and its solicitors, to determine whether or not the Sellafield plant is responsible for the leukemias. The legal aid system was created to allow people with limited finance access to the courts. If British nuclear fuels, a fully state-owned industry with all its vast financial resources, succeeds in blocking this application, the only avenue for justice open to these people will have been denied.
What do you say?
My leg's sick.
Come on. Oh, right, come on, let's see if we can catch that. What's up?
The problem still is you've no firm evidence to demonstrate Sellafield is responsible for the leukemias.
Philip, we need the courts behind us to help us investigate BNFL. Without legal aid, we're just standing outside their fence with our suspicions.
BNFL have been caught out about the accuracy of their data on several occasions. The information they gave to Sir Douglas Black's committee, for instance, was well short of the mark.
You don't mean they lied?
Well, they certainly made a big mistake. They claimed to have released 440 grams of uranium oxide into the environment, when in fact they released 50 times more than that. 20 kilograms.
Well, that's good.
But I have to say, the plutonium content in an increase of even that scale still isn't enough to explain the leukemias, not by today's risk factors.
Blimey, how much plutonium do you need?
Well, it's proving how much your clients actually has that's going to be your problem.
Professor Radford's theory of airborne contamination, polluted beaches. A judge would understand the logic of it.
I'm sure. Well, your problem would come if he asked to see the evidence supporting it. At the moment, there isn't any. Your case is ahead of the science.
Well, in 1854, an outbreak of cholera in London was thought to be caused by the Broad Street pump. People didn't know why water killed, but they knew filtering it stopped people dying. Years later, science discovered bacteria, and then they can explain why filtering water worked.
Point taken. Well, something is happening to cause the leukemias. If it isn't Sellafield, what is it?
Oh, quite.
I'm happy to investigate anything you like, but I might not come up with the answers you want.
Just you tell the truth, Phil, and we'll abide by it. I know what the truth is.
We've got legal aid. We're suing BNFL.
Great. Your mother will be pleased.
We got legal aid. We got legal aid. Party! La la la.
We had concern that these families, the parents of children who either had died or had got leukemia, were actually being misled by Martin Day. And we believe that he has been raising hopes and expectations.
We feel we need to take a decision about Gemma's possible treatment. It's not going to be easy. Gemma's responded well to the busulfan, but as I've always told you, it's a control, not a cure. Now, if we found a perfect donor, she'd be well and home by now, but we haven't. And as we know, she could reach the acute stage tomorrow. And so that's why we need to make a decision. Do we wait and hope for a perfect donor match, or do we take action now?
What action's possible?
Well, we know Stephen's tissue type is compatible with Gemma's, so there's a very good chance we can make it a close enough match to Gemma's for a transplant to work. But there are risks.
So what are the chances of it working?
I'd say 50-50. Of course, once we start the treatment, we can't change our minds. There's no going back.
So what you mean is, if it works, she cures quicker. And if it doesn't, she dies quicker.
If we decide not to do anything at all, Gemma could possibly live several years. Or not. The important thing is, we can only start the treatment while she's well enough to respond to it. By waiting, we could miss the chance. So, do we go for an operation that has a 50% chance of saving her life? Or do nothing?
And give her a nice life for as long as we've got her?
That was always the idea, even before she got ill.
Putting it through all that for an operation that's got a 50% chance. They're asking us to toss a coin for her life. She looks so well. She could stay well for years. What if we put her through all that treatment and it doesn't work? And we lose her. And then in 12 months' time, somebody finds a cure. And all we have to do is just hang on a bit longer for her.
Or if it turns acute tomorrow, and we've done nothing.
The problem is the leukemia cluster centers on C-scale. But the radioactive contamination that we think caused it doesn't. So the question is, how can radiation, which is spread from Barrow to Scotland, cause leukemias just at C-scale? The argument from BNFL is if contamination causes leukemias, why aren't there outbreaks in other equally contaminated areas? BNFL's conclusion, there aren't, because radioactive contamination at the levels emitted from Sellafield can't cause it.
I assume they're still underestimating the scale of their emissions. They've done it before. Why break the habit of a lifetime?
Well, I couldn't just assume that. But it did seem to me the only possible line of investigation open to us was to calculate for ourselves the radioactive emissions from the plant and their distribution. Now, if you measure radioactive deposits in the ground, you have a good idea how much radiation came out of the plant. Now, Harwell published detailed data of soil samples. They run from the 1950s till now. They're based on BNFL's own figures, so we must assume BNFL stand by them.
Hang on, you're using BNFL's own figures to calculate the amount of contamination they say came out of their plant?
Yes, well, there aren't any others.
Won't that give them rather a favourable result?
Yeah, you'd think so, wouldn't you? We want to know how much plutonium was emitted from the plant. Well, I've looked through all these and fed the figures for every soil sample ever taken into the computer. The radionuclides, strontium, cesium, and plutonium break down roughly at 50-50 to 1. That means you'd expect to find in the soil 1/50th of the amount of plutonium as compared to strontium and cesium. But there's more plutonium. Their figures, their mistake.
Look anywhere for long enough and you'll find something. What's it mean for us?
Well, either there's been much higher radioactive releases from the plant than anyone thought, or there's been an undocumented release of plutonium at some point.
Which BNFL never mentioned.
Well, they may not know about it. It's only when you look through all the surveys together that you see it. I suspect nobody ever did before. I wouldn't have if it hadn't been for your court case.
Well, it's odd BNFL don't know about it. I mean, they are running the industry.
Well, let's see if they have an explanation for it, shall we?
Yeah, well, we'll swear an affidavit and make them show us their records on emissions. And get Sarah and Sue to go up to Sellafield and bully them. Hey, it's a great start, this, Phil. Smash it. Perfect.
Tracksuit on the bottom. Okay. And knickers on the top there. Right. Got clean tissues here. Okay.
Don't worry, Dad, you can polish my bald head.
Right, we're just going to pop a little tube into your chest. Won't hurt. Then you'll be ready for your transplant in a couple of weeks. Okay, Gemma? Good girl.
Shall we go back?
You said about half an hour.
What? Oh, just don't say it again, Stephen. We've made the right decision.
How can you be 100% sure of a 50% chance, Susan?
Okay. Hiya. Have a nice sleep. We're just talking about staying under this thing.
6 weeks.
But then you go home. Now, it's very important you stay inside it, Gemma. Keeps all those germs away.
It's important, Jem. You have to, love.
You didn't say that before.
Won't be long.
I'm not going to do anything unusual. I was even followed to the loo. I mean, what are these people so paranoid about?
Being helpful? I mean, look, they were ordered to show you the documents.
Well, they did. Sort of. They just didn't make any sense to me.
Well, look, we'll just have to swear another affidavit. Be a bit more specific this time.
Ask for the documents relating to any illegal emissions. That should do it.
Fine. Bye.
Hey, no, Gemma, stop it! I'm telling you, it in. Look, you wet everything through the last time you did this. Right, Gemma, I'm not laughing.
Can't get me.
The sea? How's it from the sea?
That's what BNFL are claiming. They say the plutonium fill they found isn't an excess at all. It came from their discharge pipe and was blown back onto the land from the sea. They say they've already accounted for it and we've found nothing damning.
Cobblers.
Is that your legal or scientific opinion? I thought the whole point about an underwater pipe was to get rid of radioactive discharges.
Well, it does. Into the sea.
So the fish can worry about it.
The plutonium is supposed to stick to the seabed and be harmless.
Unless it's blown back onto the land.
No, if it had come from the sea, it had been more uniformly spread. But what I found came from directly inside the plant. And leads us right back to our old question, why the high incidence of leukemias around Sellafield?
You found out?
Let's just go through it. If you're going to argue it in court, you better understand it. Plutonium contamination comes from just two sources. Nuclear installations and the fallout from the atomic bomb tests of the 50s and 60s, which still lands on us in the rainfall. Now, we checked all the data on all our nuclear installations, so I decided to look at the fallout radiation. Now, to calculate that, you look at the figures for rainfall.
Right.
Now, whoever drew up these official figures, they got them wrong. They assumed that rainfall on the coast of Cumbria was the same as in the middle.
The mountains slipped their minds.
Odd, isn't it? Anyway, rainfall on the coast is much lower. Therefore, fallout radiation is lower. So once you subtracted the correct amount for local fallout radiation, then you begin to see that contamination isn't uniform from Barrow to Scotland.
It's high around Sellafield.
It is. By plotting every soil sample, we identify all plutonium in the soil, subtract the correct figure for fallout radiation, and the amount of plutonium contamination from Sellafield suddenly increases. Plot that as a three-dimensional model, and I'd say that gives a possible answer to the question, why C-scale? High concentration of plutonium in the soil directly around Sellafield, not blown in from the sea, but released directly from inside the plant in very large unrecorded discharges. And there we have our cluster of leukemia, a concentration of plutonium in and around Sellafield being breathed in by the people who live and work there.
Hello? Hello, little girl. What's your name? Hey? Hello? Hello? Hello, little girl. Hello? Hello?
You all right, Jem? Hey.
How are you? Okay.
Susan was telling me you got laid off.
Yeah. I can spend more time here.
Well, you feel like you've been kicked by a horse after tomorrow, I'm afraid.
So I've been told.
Gemma's looking very well, isn't she?
Yeah. I'd feel better if she looked ill and we were trying to cure her.
I know. It's like we're taking her out of the sunshine and putting her in the dark room. But we are all on the same side, you know.
I know. But she's ours. You know?
So here I am, the masked man, just like the Lone Ranger. Probably never heard of the Lone Ranger. Do you know how many red blood cells a bone marrow produces every second? Have a guess? No? 3 million. Not surprising, yours is a bit tired. There. You've just had a bone marrow transplant. Dead boring, really. Well, how are you feeling?
Kicked by that horse.
Well, we just wait now. The only bone marrow she has is what we've put in. After 15 days, we'll hope to see a hint of some neutrophils, which means the transplant is taken and she's beginning to produce good blood cells again. Now, today's day 0 for Gemma. 0.0. We need to get to 0.5 before we know it's working. And in 28 days, well, we hope to see it reading normal.
But before then, 0.5.
Yeah.
0.5. Well, we knew it had happened, didn't we? Hey? Oh, darling, come here.
We needed to calculate how much extra uranium oxide will be needed to generate the excessive plutonium we've found. Now, the official surveys from British Nuclear Fuels show a total release of 20 kilograms of uranium oxide. Now, having found the excessive plutonium, however, I'd say a reliable estimate for releases of uranium oxide from Sellafield would be 200 kilograms. Cumulatively, the amount of plutonium discharged is increased by a factor of 40.
Oh, that's fantastic.
Not if you live in Cumbria. 40 times more environmental contamination.
40 times higher than has ever been disclosed, yes.
That's brilliant. So, would what you have found make the emissions high enough to cause leukemia?
Not on the currently accepted risk models, no.
God, the current risk models. I'm amazed they don't say plutonium is good for you.
The amount of plutonium we've found increases the risk factor for leukemia from 1 person in 2,000 to 1 in 1,400. Well, that doesn't explain the 1 in 200, which is the incidence around Sellafield. You couldn't go into the court and say plutonium contamination from Sellafield is how your client's got leukemia. On these figures, I mean, that can't be the truth.
You know, witnesses have to tell the truth, Phil. I have to win for my clients. We haven't got enough, have we?
Well, could help your client Vivian Hope. She worked at the plant. Given this, she suffered more contamination than we thought, but not enough.
For today's risk models.
That's it. Most of the others didn't even work at the plant. Now, the Darcys, Elizabeth Ray, I don't see that they can have much of a chance, to be honest.
Well, we'll just have to keep looking for more evidence.
say it's the most radioactive sea in the world now. I just remember it on lovely sunny days. We always had our holidays here. Mr. Ray was one of the men who fought the reactor fire in 1957. I always felt that his cancer was because of that, but the company wrote to me saying that it wasn't his work. He was away 3 days at the fire. They'd scrubbed him till he bled. Decontamination. Came to ours with a Geiger counter.
They didn't tell anybody in Seascale, did they? Even when the fire was out of control?
That was a wicked thing to do. The whole reactor was blazing and people were walking about doing the shopping with children in pushchairs.
Their own workers' families.
That was wrong. It really was. They had some good lads working for them, conscientious. My husband only ever had 7 days off sick in all the 20 years he was there. That's what that boy gave to Sellafield.
Susan? What's wrong?
Oh, she squirted me. How's the case going?
Fantastic.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Good. She's in there.
Ta-da!
Now we go back to the main news. Evidence in an independent report today that children whose fathers worked at the Sellafield nuclear plant in Cumbria have been much more likely to develop leukemia.
Field workers attended special meetings today called to discuss the possible link between the plant and child leukemia with the report's author. As they took their places, British Nuclear Fuels revealed young family men were being moved away from high radiation areas at what it called a very rapid rate.
Let's just say that we're very optimistic, okay?
Yes, it does. Yes, we're very pleased. He will, yeah.
Well, the Gardner report confirms what we've been saying for several months. It shows the link between the Sellafield nuclear plant and leukemia. In fact, the evidence is so overwhelming that the Legal Aid Board has agreed to lift all financial restrictions on us in order that we can proceed to trial. Professor Gardner has found that as little as a 10 millisieverts dose of radiation to a father in the 6 months prior to conception significantly raises the probability of that man fathering a leukemic child. And the most likely cause, in my view, is that radiation causes mutation of the germ cell and thus triggers the leukemia in the child. Once this has happened, the illness can pass from generation to generation. And for any worker in the nuclear industry with a young family or contemplating starting a family, this report is devastating.
I gave my own child leukemia.
It wasn't you. It was that place.
I thought the only risk was to myself. But risking the life of my own child. If she dies, it's because I worked at that bloody place. Sue them. Sue the bastards.
Now, if somebody is that worried, then it may be that the proper advice is that if you are that worried that you don't have a family. But as I say, it's
Well, he's as good as said Gardner's right.
He said it.
Did you hear that?
He said it.
Right, listen, well, we get on straight on to BNFL, ask them to accept responsibility and settle out of court, and we quote what their own chief medical officer has just said.
Great. Okay. What about these?
Sue, we can only go forward with cases where the plaintiff or the plaintiff's father worked at Sellafield. These don't fit.
Gardner's findings, so we can't help them.
Well, let's not throw the baby out.
I'm not. I'm still representing Mrs. Ray, Vivian Hope and Gemma Darcy.
Hang on. All these families have legitimate claims. We've spent months getting the environmental evidence Phil Day came up with to support them. The excess of plutonium
doesn't
around
help them
Sellafield
fit
is something
the Gardner report. And besides, Gardner's evidence is independent. Phil Day's our expert.
Well, that doesn't make his evidence redundant.
It does now that we're facing our case on the Gardner report.
I think we should put the environmental case as supportive of Gardner.
And the judge will assume that we're not sure of either, so we're using both.
Well, we shouldn't be basing our case around the scientific limitations of a judge.
Yes, we should. BNFL will line up every medical expert and say that environmental pollution isn't significant enough to cause leukemia.
At today's risk standards.
It's today we're doing it.
All these families will be disappointed, Martin.
Well, they'll be a damn sight more disappointed if I went into court and lost. Look, Sue, if I win using the Gardner evidence, then BNFL will settle these other claims. I'm sure of it. But I've got to fight my strongest cases first!
Right, so what do we do now?
Well, I think... Sarah! Sue! You got a minute? We've had a ricochet response from their solicitors. BNFL will not accept any responsibility for the leukemias. No, they will not settle. And no, they will not set up a compensation fund for families of leukemic children.
We do have a problem with Professor Gardner's report. Gardner's study shows a statistical link between radiation and leukemia in children of nuclear workers born and resident in Seascale. None of our clients were born there.
No. What is important for our clients is the link that Gardner has established between the plant and radiation workers with leukemic children.
So far, the link only works in Seascale.
Vivian Hope's from Seascale.
Yeah, but she wasn't born there.
She's born in Drigg, 3 miles away.
She's still outside Gardner's study.
Oh, get a grip. No judge is going to believe that radiation stops at the parish boundary.
Couldn't BNFL argue that only people actually included in Gardner's study should be allowed to use it as a basis for legal action?
Professor Gardner has studied 117 children who were born and lived here in Seascale. And we assume some of those families must still live here, but not one of them has approached us with a view to suing the company.
They won't. The company built this town. Just about everybody relies on work there. But not everybody has a leukemic child.
And those that do don't want to do something that might put their own or their neighbours' jobs at risk. I know I don't.
There's others who are just waiting to see how this case goes before they do anything. If we win, I think you'll have opened the floodgates for clients.
Yeah, it's now I need them to come forward.
Are you saying you don't think you can win Vivian's case?
No, not at all. No, it's just that others coming forward now would be helpful.
They won't. If they went against BNFL and lost, people are more afraid of unemployment than they are of radiation.
Just one client and I could win.
All done. Good girl, Gemma.
Oh, come on, it's all right, Jem.
All right, Gemma. It's okay, love.
Oh, look who's here. Look who's come to see you. And her blood count went right down. They gave her a bag of blood and platelets.
And everything they got in the drugs cupboard.
They gave her anti-sickness.
Must be tired of being here.
Just a bit.
How's the case going?
Fine. Gotta go to Manchester to do a television programme.
Yeah, but you let them know what radiation has done to Gemma.
I will.
I hope you do. Because everybody needs to know. They should come and have a look at her pump full of drugs till she's sick. Kept in a bed 24 hours a day, and all you get on the television is BNFL saying, oh, it's nothing to do with us. It's not our problem, not our problem. You just beat them, Martin. You finished them.
I know this is a bad time, but I need a statement from you, Stephen.
You just had one. And then you go and collect your film badge. Your film badge was your only way of knowing how much of a radiation dose you had. I worked for a contractor.
They asked for their own, didn't they?
Yeah. They wouldn't only use BNFL film badges. I worked in some active areas, but I don't know what my radiation dose was.
Do you have your dose records?
No. I suppose my contractor would have.
Oh, right.
Gemma.
Sorry, Martin.
Professor Gardner pointed out that over the whole period from 1950...
That's the report that we're talking
That's
about,
right,
yeah.
from 1950 to 1985, in the whole of West Cumbria, there were a total of 52 children with leukemia and another 22 with a related disease called non-Hodgkin's lymphoma, very close to leukemia, it's very similar. Of those, in his report, only 10 of those were workers at... their parents were workers at Sellafield.
Not that many children. Martin Day.
I've just come from a hospital in Newcastle where a little girl called Gemma Darcy has leukemia. She's sitting there with no hair, wired up to machines. I mean, this is a real child. You know, these are real families. And I feel it's a strange attitude for this company to take, to say that 10 leukemias are reasonable.
I'm concerned. Gemma should be showing more signs of bone marrow recovery by now. I'll have to do a bone marrow aspirate to find out what's going on.
It's okay, Gemma. It's nearly over. It's over in a second.
Will you leave her alone?
She can't feel it. He's not hurting her. Because one of the kids said they used a corkscrew.
I just don't believe that kid.
The transplant
Hasn't worked.
We can try again.
We should never have started this. We should never have taken the chance.
What bloody right have we got to take a chance with her life? She got leukemia because of me.
We're going to try again.
I don't want try, I want her cured! It's her life! She hasn't done anything to deserve this. She's a little child. They only ever tried this operation twice. A month ago she was riding a bike. And now she's on her last chance and we've put her there!
Bye, Gemma. Good luck. Bye, Jamie.
Well, we can't get any of our clients to fit the Gardner report to the letter. Huh?
Yeah.
So, we've got to make the ones that we have got fit the study as best we can. Right. Okay. Gardner says workers could father a leukemic child having had a minimum radiation dose of 10 millisieverts
6 months prior to conception, or a minimum dose of 100 millisieverts at any time prior to conception.
Providing they live in C-scale.
Yeah, let's just play to our strengths for a minute, not somebody else's, right? Clearly, we don't want to fight our case using the minimum doses. I mean, the higher the dose to our clients, the stronger their case, right? We know from George Ray's own notes the kind of work he did. When they were looking for cartridges that were leaking radiation, George Ray would have to go and stand on top of the reactor like this, looking down into the thing while it was still running, neutrons rushing up and bombarding him. This is a graphic example, right? Easy to explain to a judge of what the Gardner report is all about, i.e. radiation causing germ cell mutation in the sperm leading to the fathering of a leukemic child.
Providing that was prior to conception of the child.
It was. Dorothy Ray was born in 61. George Ray did this kind of work till 57. His dose badges must have been going off like an alarm clock.
They go black.
And he fought the fire in the reactor in the same year. And they sent a Geiger counter around to check his house after that. I don't believe he could have received less than 100 MSVs. I know they turn black.
Sorry, one thing. Even if Mr. Ray and Mr. Hope and Stephen Darcy did all receive 100 millisievert doses, that could still be lower than other workers who also lived outside C-scale and did similar jobs at the plant but didn't father leukemic children.
It would come as a nasty surprise if BNFL revealed that when you're in court.
To win for Hope and Ray and Darcy, using the Gardner model, we have to prove that they had radiation doses so high that where they lived becomes irrelevant.
Well, in that case, we get the radiation records of all the people used in the Gardner study.
117.
And fine. And we compared their doses against those of our clients, and yeah, pray our clients come out on top.
And what if they don't?
We're dead in the water. Well, you're the first person I've seen do their own transplant. Well done.
Hey! Well done, Jem.
Yeah!
Well, we did ask for radiation records.
We certainly got them.
Rads to sieverts, dose equivalent, collective effective dose equivalent expressed as man sieverts. I mean, it's madness.
Got any quality evidence for me yet?
Rads to sieverts are a bloody nightmare.
Yeah, cool. Yeah.
But we've got two record cards which we've worked out, and they both show that George Ray and David Hope had doses higher than Gardner requires of them.
Great.
Yeah. George Ray had a 384 millisievert lifetime dose of radiation.
Yeah.
That's high.
Yeah.
But it's not as high as Sarah thinks it should be.
Sarah? George Ray, 384 millisieverts of radiation.
It doesn't bring me even close to the data BNFL will quote at you.
Radiation to the atom bomb survivors.
Excuse me, we're talking about the Gardner report, not the A-bomb data. Besides that, look, 3.5 times the radiation dose that Gardner said he'd need to father a leukemic child.
The Rays lived miles from the plant, so we need him nearer the A-bomb data.
Talking to you about Gardner, listen to me.
384 millisieverts is nowhere near the atom bomb survivors' 1,000. That is what BNFL will keep mentioning to the judge. They'll try to discredit Gardner, but what they can't discredit is the A-bomb data.
George Ray fought the 57 fire, shoving radioactive cartridges out of a burning reactor with scaffolding poles. I mean, you know, how much radiation does a person need?
I really think we need to get nearer to the A-bomb data.
And if we look at David Hope, it gets even gloomier. He's only 86 millisieverts above Gardner's requirement for lifetime dose.
Stephen Darcy.
His doses before Gemma's conception look low.
Great. Yeah. Put it through.
Martin. Hello.
Hello, how are you?
All right, thank you. How are you?
Okay. We're all here at 8:30 working on your behalf.
Hello, Gemma.
Hello. My mum says to say I've got me own phone now.
Your mum says you were sick of being in bed.
I am. I get pains because of lack of exercise. I've been here 16 weeks. I'm getting better though. My blood pressure is up, so they give me some drugs and it's down now. A boy from the ward called David died. They buried him yesterday. He had another kind of leukemia to me. My mum says, are we winning?
Yeah. Yeah, just you keep on winning, love. Okay.
Bye-bye.
Bye. These radiation doses aren't going to convince any judge that Sellafield causes these leukemias.
Go. For Christ's sake, get a gown, Susan.
Gemma! Susan! Gemma, come on, darling. Come on.
Susan!
You are? Did you see Mackerson?
Demon!
Nearly died when she said she wanted a Maxon. She can't taste anything because of all the drugs, you see. Russell gave her a sip of his Mackerson. She tasted that. I'd give anything to be on that bus with her taking her home.
Gemma. Gemma. Gemma.
I'm not going back to bed. I want my candle.
Oh, Gemma, pet. You're not allowed out of your room.
She's with my mum and dad. I wanted to be here as well.
Well, come back in. He was buried in the middle of one of the fires. Let's see this. 1960, Hugh Howells, Sellafield Health and Safety Manager, reports to the BNFL Management Board. Kodak radiation badges are under recording by 30%. And the old Ilford badges have been under recording by up to 60%. It's all stuck in there. He recommended that all workers be informed that they have received more radiation than they had thought, and the information be noted on their record cards.
Yeah?
They weren't. We've got the record cards, and this isn't mentioned on any of them.
Brilliant. Own goal, BNFL.
Martin, this is quality stuff for the judge. A management that doesn't inform its own workforce about the inaccurate radiation badges, that tells the Black Committee that its radioactive emissions are lower by a factor of 50 than they really are, and publishes inaccurate surveys about the amount of plutonium they've pumped out over Cumbria.
Investigate them much more, we'd probably find out they shot Kennedy.
Yes! You're 0.5! Yes! Tina, she's 0.5. She said she's taking a Valium. Woo!
Susan, I was a bit suspicious of today's count, so I've been to check the blood myself. I'm sorry, but the 0.5 was a mistake. It should have read 0.1.
I don't believe anything no more.
Have you told Gemma?
You tell her! I feel like shit. Oh, Jesus, I can't stand this sudden place. I thought she was getting better. How can they make mistakes like that? You make me some tea now, yeah? You're doing great, Jen. Really pleased with your pet.
Can I go home soon then?
Yeah?
You know that tea set you said I could have? Well, can I have a blue one?
Is that what you got me here for?
Can I have a blue one? Can I?
Gemma, it's nearly 3 o'clock in the morning. You're supposed to rest. You keep doing this. Don't you want to get well? Eh?
Well, just have to tell her you don't have to give me a tea set or nothing. We can have it all. I hate being in this bed. I'm by myself. I want to go home.
Oh, Jesus. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. We're going home, right? We're going home. Oh, God, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. We're going home. I'm so tired. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'm just so tired. I'm sorry.
Do you know who ordered this pizza?
Janet Darcy. There's no olives, is there?
God. Richard? Here. BNFL now say the workers' radiation dose badges were not, according to them, under recording. The Ilford badges were accurate, the Kodak badges were over-recording. Couldn't you just hug them by the throat? I mean, they've not said a word to their workforce in 25 years, and the moment we catch them out, they've got an instant answer.
Sorry, what have they said about dose records?
Oh, that our clients haven't had more radiation than their records show. They've probably had less.
Crap.
Seconded.
What's wrong?
No, hang on. BNFL have just let us paint ourselves into a corner. Gardner bases research on figures from BNFL radiation dose records. If we say the records are wrong, we also invalidate Gardner's findings, and our entire case is based on his findings. Well, the next letter will be BNFL asking the courts to throw the case out. They'll say we're basing our action on discredited evidence.
Right. If Gardner's research is based on inaccurate figures, it'll have to be done again.
By whom?
Us.
Us?
Yeah.
We'll never have time before the exchange, Martin.
We'll have to make time, won't we?
How?
I don't know, I haven't got any better ideas.
There are 9,000 record cards to go through.
We have to do the recalculation, otherwise we'll have nothing to take into court with us.
It's a risk. By recalculating Gardner based on new figures, we may lose the statistical link between the plant and the leukemias. No link, no case.
Yeah. Well, we can't duck it. We'll have to do the recalculation. We'll be in uncharted waters for lawyers looking for the truth rather than good evidence. Right? Well, come on.
You've still got a water pistol, Martin, so watch out. Don't be upset. She was looking forward to seeing you. Her own lawyer. How's the case going?
It's... Sorry, I'm shocked.
It's still Gemma. She's been in a lot of pain. Let's give her morphine this morning. They think the busulfan they've been giving her has killed the scaffold in her bones. The marrow has nothing to graft onto. There's nothing they can do for her. Probably go home in a few days. I shan't say she's dying. We're just all going home.
We want to see direct medical evidence, if possible. This is based on statistical evidence. It's a first-class report. Let's get it clear. We welcome it. We're very anxious that further research should be done.
Latest is that BNFL have refused to accept the Gardner report, and they've applied to the courts to take all the documents from his study.
Will the court allow that?
Well, they already have. Yeah, and not just because of the House report. No, listen to this. One of the people that he included in his study was born and also died in C-scale, but was diagnosed leukemic while he was at college in Bristol, and according to BNFL, that shows that the whole report is flawed.
Be a fight to the finish then, won't it, Richard?
Oh, Gemma!
Susan, I just don't know how she's standing up.
That's Gemma.
I don't know why she feels better. It could be the thought of going home, or it could be the morphine getting rid of her pain. But the improvement will only be temporary. Look, we very rarely suggest this, but she's fighting for her life, so we must. We want to try for a third transplant.
Thanks.
This one is resident in C-scale.
Yes,
of course. So they couldn't really. I mean, there's no...
Time to slash our wrists. Never say die.
The recalculated figures based on the radiation badges under recording don't invalidate Professor Gardner's findings. For David Hope and George Ray, they actually strengthen their case. David Hope's official record showed a radiation dose of 184 millisieverts. Recalculated, his dose is 294. That's almost 3 times the Gardner minimum. George Ray's official record was 384 millisieverts. It should have shown 709, almost as high as the A-bomb data, and 7 times the Gardner minimum for fathering a leukemic child.
I mean, those 2 cases are unstoppable.
Yes!
Stephen Darcy?
His radiation dose is still too low to fit the Gardner model.
So, we go forward with Elizabeth Ray and Vivian Hope, and not Gemma Darcy.
Will Mrs. Susan Darcy return to the ward immediately, please? Mrs. Susan Darcy to the ward immediately.
Oh no. Oh no, Jesus, no, please.
This is 2.2.
It's true. 2.2, 69% neutrophils.
Well, it's about time you booked up your ideas, miss.
I know.
Come on, Jem.
Come on, Gemma.
It's all right, Pat. Come on.
It's okay, Gemma, honest. You can cross the line. Go on. That's it, go on, you can do it.
That's not Gemma Darcy. It is.
Hiya, Pat. You alright? Are you warm? You alright? Yeah. Are you? Can you sing that song for me? Hey? Come on, sing it for your mum. Hot dog sausages for you, tea. Come on, Shanda can sing it. Go on. Hot dog sausages for you, tea. Bam, chicka chicka boom boom. Yeah, yeah. For you and me. Bam, chicka chicka boom boom. Yeah, yeah.
I mean, I'm not giving up with Gemma's case. But Steve doesn't fit the Garden report, and that's the evidence I have to use to win.
I haven't had enough contamination.
Well, so it seems. I mean, 4 days ago, BNFL's own scientists finally admitted the plutonium we found in the soil means emissions from there into the environment are 300 times higher than have ever previously been admitted. But even that, by today's risk standards, still isn't thought high enough to cause leukemia.
We keep getting anonymous letters calling us names for going after compensation. Maybe we can't write back and tell them we're not even involved anymore. We might get some peace then.
Even if it's not about Gemma and Court, let them all know about her, Martin. You know, a lot of people up here have been really off about me making a fuss about her. You think I enjoy being interviewed on the television and the paper? I don't. I do it because I want people to know about this case. And whatever happens, whether she lives or dies, I want people to know my daughter Gemma existed. And she mattered. Yeah? Gemma.
You know I love you, don't you? You know I really love you.
Yes. I'm cold.
I've got her. Get out of my way.
Would you like me to call a priest?
She's not dying. Come on.
You have to get fluid into it. Don't rig it up. I'll get it straight out of the bottle. 50 ml syringe.
Just hang on, Pat. Just hang on. Shh, it's okay. It's okay. Hang on. Just hang on. Just hang on. Just hang on. Just hang on.
You've got my water pistol.
Just hang on. Just hang on.
We'll get her up to ICU.
It's all right. It's all right. It's going to be all right. Just hang on, Pat. Just hang on. Just hang on. She'll be all right. She'll be all right. She'll be all right. She'll be all right. It's all right, Gemma. I'm here. I tried, Gemma. I tried.